King Wu of Zhou's attack on King Zhou was as intense as a raging fire. However, it recently ended in a stalemate. Jiang Ziya, the old rival of King Zhou, found that the divine weapons of the generals in the camp were frequently stolen, and even heightened security was useless. This severely affected the morale of the troops, so he had to ask for guidance from the celestial realm. Jiang Ziya arrived at the cave mansion of the Southern Pole Immortal and sought his advice. The Immortal calculated and shook his head, saying, King Zhou accidentally picked up a blue time remote control at the Disneyland park. As long as he presses the pause button, he can enter and leave the Zhou camp without being detected. The time remote control is a very powerful treasure and is very hard to crack. However, I can lend you another magical treasure that allows you to move freely within the range of the time remote control. The treasure was flashing red, and it turned out to be a red space remote control. Jiang Ziya was delighted to accept the remote control from the Southern Pole Immortal. After thanking him, he immediately returned to the Zhou camp. The following night, King Zhou used his old trick again, pressed the pause button on the time remote control, and sneaked into the camp. At this time, Jiang Ziya's space remote control automatically activated, timely moving them both to the summit of Changbai Mountain and the bank of the Heilong River. The two battled over 100 rounds, with no clear winner. King Zhou found this all very absurd and had no choice but to sigh and retreat. King Zhou was persistent, trying several times to infiltrate using the time remote control, but unfortunately each time he was removed by the space remote control, creating confusion. One day, Daji saw King Zhou with a sorrowful face and feigned concern. After she understood the situation, she suddenly had an idea. When King Zhou and Jiang Ziya were fighting on the mountain and by the river, she took the opportunity to take both the time and space remote controls from behind a tree. She planned to use the time remote control to stay young forever, and with the space remote control, travel the world, enjoying all the delicacies, beautiful scenery, and handsome men. King Zhou once again admitted defeat and saw Daji with both remote controls, preparing to pack her bags and say goodbye to the old man. He thought it would be hard to persuade her to stay, so he suggested to the blossoming Daji to go back to the time and place where she first seduced King Wu's brother Boyi Cao. He would pretend to hide, and once Boyi Cao was unable to control himself, he could easily control this heir to the Zhou dynasty. There would be nothing to fear from Jiang Ziya then. Daji agreed, believing it would be better to leave later since she would always stay young. She used all her seductive powers to entangle Boyi Cao, the most handsome man in the world. While the two were passionately in love, Jiang Ziya arrived in time. Daji saw him coming and knew she had to run. She wanted to use the remote control to escape with Boyi Cao, but the battery had run out. Daji knew she had lost and had to surrender. However, Boyi Cao was already enchanted by Daji. He insisted on letting Jiang Ziya let Daji go. Jiang Ziya had to comply with the heir to the throne. When King Zhou was proud that he had lost a woman to Boyi Cao but gained a mole in the Zhou dynasty, King Wu of Zhou, Ji Chang, heard the news and was furious. He decided to depose Boyi Cao and pass the throne to King Wu, GFA. The battle over the time and space remote controls ended in vain, and everything returned to the starting point.